The poinsettia that I have to my side, the red one, is one of my great traditions of Christmas. And you may not know the history behind it. I love the story, and I hope it becomes one of your favorite traditions that you share with your family. There was a gentleman who was an appointee of our government who went down into Mexico, and he was sort of the ambassador to Mexico from the United States. He was also an amateur botanist. He loved to not only study plants, he would oftentimes cross-fertilize the plants to come up with unique appearing plants. So when he was riding throughout the countryside, and even in the wintertime, most of Mexico is not cold as we know the coldness in the United States. But he saw a plant, and it was actually a weed that no one wanted and most people would cut down. But he noticed the beautiful leaves of it in what would have been considered the wintertime of Mexico. So he dug up several of these and took them back to his ambassador's quarters and began to work to crossbreed cross-fertilize these plants. His name was Joseph R. Poinsett, and that's where we get the name Poinsettia, because Joseph R. Poinsett collected a number of these plants and sent them back to a friend of his in the United States who began to purify the plant even more. And as time went on, this plant always bloomed just prior to the beginning of the winter solstice, which is December the 21st, which has the longest night and the shortest day. And he wanted people who had problems with the lack of sunlight. We know today that depression is much more prevalent starting the middle of December and carrying into the wintertime because of the amount of darkness that we have and the short days. So he figured this plant would simply give some happiness to people that were in such a depressed situation. So Joseph R. Poinsett, when he finished as the ambassador to Mexico, came back to the United States, and he and his botanist friend began to work on this plant. It was a number of years before it caught on as part of the traditions of Christmas. And today you can buy poinsettias most anywhere. So the tradition of the poinsettia started out with an ambassador of Mexico who saw a weed, thought it was beautiful, saw it blooming in the wintertime, brought it back to the United States and purified it, and made it available to the public, to anyone that wanted it. So now we have one of the traditions of Christmas, which is called the poinsettia. And it is a joyful remembrance that even in the darkness of winter, there is the light of Christ. Even when we feel the worst because there's a lack of sunlight, there is a joy that can be shared among us by simply purchasing the poinsettias, placing them in our places of worship, giving them as gifts so that people can be reminded that there is a flower that truly grows in the darkness of winter, and we will make it through that darkness because of the light of Jesus Christ.